What first sparked your love for designs and creativity, Jessica?
Thing that's in my bones. In my life, I've had other jobs where they weren't really necessarily creative jobs, and I felt like I was lacking fulfillment. As a creative, I feel I need to be creating to have life fulfillment, as cheesy as that sounds. So I think I was just kind of genetically born with it.
Wow.
My father's also creative, so I think that I get my creative talents from him, and I tell my mother I get her beauty.
Wow. I mean, it's such a combination. Really lovely. Uh, so you have worked with brands like Vitamins and Habros Nef. What key lessons did you learn from working with those major players earlier in your career?
And working with such large brands, it
Yeah.
gave me the experience of working, this is gonna sound silly, such large teams, they're run differently. And there's a lot of really, really great things happening inside of large corporations, but there's also just a lot of mismanagement and micromanaging and a lot of bad design or bad practices because there's so many people or because it's not managed well. Not saying that's everywhere, but
Yeah.
there's pros and cons to both. I definitely learned, in the design world, they're saying that a mule was a horse designed by committee, meaning kind of like too many cooks in the, you
Yeah.
intend to design something and you're like, let's design this beautiful horse. And
Yeah.
now it's a donkey or a mule.
Yeah, amazing. I think the analogy you just give just speak volumes, especially more like being a cook in the kitchen and you have various species of ingredients. At the end of the day, you won't know who and who did. Yeah,
And you're like, well, I added
yeah.
salt, but they also added salt. Now we have double the salt. We didn't need all of that.
So what inspired you the leap from corporate designs work out to finding Design Pod Studio?
Most entrepreneurs have a crazy bone in us
Yeah.
where we want to aim and see if the parachute opens. I had always wanted to have my own company, but never honestly thought that that would be the case. When I was at Mace, my ambitions were to work my way up to CEO, and they ended up bringing on some new board members, and the internal culture and structure were changing. And now is kind of the opportunity to drive my own car. A lot of times, if you are working for someone else, you're in the back seat yelling directions and not sure if they're going to listen to you or not.
Yeah.
And I thought now's my opportunity to jump out of the plane and see a parachute opens. And it been an road some of the time, but I'm very, very glad that I did it because I thought, why not do it? What happens? I'd rather get to my deathbed day and know that I tried versus
Yeah.
always wondering what if. A lot of my life, I make decisions kind of based on that. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I always think I either have tried and know the outcome than or try and not know.
Yeah.
I know that's
Yeah.
probably a coffee mug somewhere.
This is just speak volume from corporate job, and then you actually more like see the scenario as jumping out from a parachute and to see what it's going to be like. So, how was the experience for you, where you actually more like totally out of the corporate world and currently do your own things? At first, what was the things you actually more like fine?
Oh, I did it spontaneously. I don't recommend people doing it that way. I was yesterday, my CEO and I and some of the team were in Las Vegas doing a small security show and a presentation. And we were going to port to leave Las Vegas. And I had been thinking about resigning, but wasn't sure. And some came over me. I just word vomited. What would you think if I started my own company, Mace becoming my first client? It's Friday. Don't answer me now. Let's talk about it Monday. Monday came around, I walked into his office and he said, "Let's draft up a contract." So I had effectively my corporate job with a salary, health benefits, with no business plan.
Oh,
Normally, someone would say, no, normally you would start with a business plan, um, any sort of plan. And I had my only plan was that Mace was going to be my first client. So in the beginning, I knew how to do obviously design. I knew I could do design, the actual work well and very well, but getting clients, keeping clients, making proposals, drafting contracts, how to price projects. All of that was very much swimming in the deep end, trying to figure it out while also trying to swim.
Yeah. Amazing. I think sometimes looking back, even those trying to swim that even make it interesting compared to when you have full blueprint, because sometimes even knowing what is expect after my like quitting it can be so overwhelming that even if you know much of the difficulties, people like to quit. So better
Yes.
sometimes it's better you don't know and quit than know much of what difficulties that you're looking for once you actually quit.
Yeah. I say that because my mom reminds me all the time, "If you knew what would happen in life, life would be so less exciting." And I'm like, "Yeah, but can I just know sometimes a little bit more than what I'm being given?"
Yeah, so true, so true. I think that is why sometimes a whole lot of the interview I'll be having with my guests sometimes it just shows that a whole lot of business school they have of the opinion that you have more like a business plan, a vision of where the business is going, 4 to 5 years plan and everything. But at the end of the day, a whole lot of them who have these blueprints, they end up not even creating anything, not even launching out anything, not even moving out anything. So sometimes knowing can be actually what the problem is going to come ahead can be a discouragement on its own. So sometimes, yeah, just dive in and waiting to see if you can parachute. Though sometimes you might almost leg, but it fall anyway.
It'll still, yes,
Yeah,
I do know, to that point, I do know people that their business has gotten held by the business plan because they
yeah,
overthink it and the fear and the what if and am I doing this right? Am I not doing it correctly? All these different things. When you just do it, you're forced to figure it out because there is no other
yeah,
option. And in my mind, failure was not an option.
yeah,
If the company isn't necessarily going to be a failure, it would just going to be changing directions. But I knew that I somehow would figure it out. And as a business owner, I think that, but if you did have a business plan, there's stuff that you need to figure out.
yeah,
It's never going to be easy. It's a very weird roller coaster. I think nowadays, even if you work for a company, it's not like it was 10, gosh, not even 10 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago, where if you worked for an employer, there was that uh, dedication to each side. Now, having someone work for a company for a few decades is very rare, especially here in the US.
yeah.
That longevity of a career, a lot of people do bounce around. So, no matter where you are.
Yeah, really speak volumes. So if 20 years ago one hardly jump, I think now one should jump off from being that a whole lot of things are changing and their job roles and descriptions and careers are falling short. And what's actually more like called career path 20 or 10 years ago, it's not. So we have to start jumping out every single time now, so that if catch up, will not be in a particular position where everything is actually wear off and there is no opportunity in that particular career before one finally take the leap. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I have seen a lot of growth in myself to push myself, which I appreciate. But to be able to see that growth of where, for example, I'm a very naturally, like, anxious person. I used to have very, very bad anxiety, and I'm getting better at managing the stress and the anxiety, and I actually have a Post-it note on my desk here where it says, "Be
Ooh,
comfortable
becoming
sitting in
in the ooh, in the
the
unknown.
unknown." Like, you you have to, and I could say that, yes, for a business owner, but that's also just existing as a human being.
Yeah.
We don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow or in a week or a month, so often there's many situations where we just have to be, "Okay, we're in the waiting room of life. What's
Yeah,
gonna
we'll figure
happen?"
it out.
Yes.
Yeah. So many small business underestimate branding. How do you define what strong branding really is?
Things. A lot of people think that branding is just the logo, but the logo is kind of like the face of the company, but you need the rest of the body, right?
Yeah.
So the branding logo, it's your mission statement, your colors, fonts, everything that aesthetically makes up your business, along with when you write copy, what is the tone? Is it professional, very serious? Is it happy, energetic? All of those different things are what make up because they're the ways that the world is going to see, perceive, and interact with your company. So all of those touch points that people, whether it's social media, your website, packaging, that all needs to be consistent and speak the same values for company, as to how your product functions or your service is done, inconsistency. We as a human race judge on looks, whether
Yeah.
we want to say that or not. So your brand is that visual makeup, that 24/7 sales. It's incredibly important.
Wow, wow, amazing. I think it's the fact that you just make reference of it that branding is more like the face of the business, the name out there, and how people are like perceive the business visually before even coming in contact with the business. This really speaks volume. I think it just speaks volume that if branding should be the face of the business in terms of the visual aspects, which make then the body must be very careful to maintain the integrity of what the brand is. Yeah,
Yeah. I the other analogy kind of use with people is if you hand someone a flyer of information and then copy paper, chances are they're going to fold it up and put it in the pocket.
yeah,
If you hand them the same information on a thicker cardstock,
yeah.
they naturally differently. So if you think about how someone interacts with a better quality of paper, if you think about how usually looks in the world, is your brand wearing pajamas or is it wearing a suit? That's how people, unless you're selling pajamas, then that's fine. But
Yeah.
that's how people are going to their first impression of your
Yeah.
company. Is it quality or is it not quality? Consumers, honestly, because a lot of them don't realize it, judge that. They perceive the aesthetic, the reflection, the quality of
Mm,
product or service. If you're buying a product, here's an example. If you're at the store and you're buying a bottle of wine, but you're not a wine connoisseur, how do you buy it? You buy it based on the label. Label is design.
yeah.
And you do that with any new product. Oh my goodness. I was buying new shampoo a couple weeks ago because I wasn't happy with my shampoo. And even as a designer, I knew I was doing it. I literally stood in the aisle thinking, all right, I'm judging these shampoos based on their packaging, but what really is the good shampoo? So I'm reading it. I was there, I think, for 20 minutes just to buy shampoo and conditioner. But the average person is going to actually buy based on the tools of a product.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So in your experience, what is the biggest mistake small business owner make when it comes to their branding or visuals?
Is trying to make shortcuts in the beginning. They get a logo on and maybe it's very inexpensive. They say, "This will work. I'm happy with it." But maybe 3, 5 years down the road, they realize they don't like it, or maybe it was designed and it actually isn't connecting with their target audience, and then they have to redo it, and that's massive investment because
Yeah.
it could be on vehicle wraps, shirts, business cards, all of those things then have to be reprinted and redone. It's like build a foundation properly, which is your branding. Then as you build up, everything's going to be done properly and strong. But having to go back to the foundation it's a lot of time. It's a lot of um I also businesses often in the beginning wanting to design their logo something that they personally like, but has nothing to really do with their product or what their
Mm,
target audience is gonna like. And then there's a disconnect, right? Like uh, your company has a flamingo and a cupcake in the logo, that has
yeah.
nothing to do with what you're selling. So you need to understand your target audience to properly design so it resonates with them.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, I think just speak Williams. So branding is not to the end what you like as the founder, but what's right for your audience. How do we get to perceive you? Not what in quotes. This is what I admire. This is what I like. No, no, no. You're not. They are not. The brand is not serving you. It's serving your audience. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's so true. I mean, favorite color is orange, but my company's
Uh,
branding is not orange. Like a lot of people do not like the color orange. So
yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So, how do you help client translate who they are into a brand that they connect with people?
out what I have is what I call a brand discovery questionnaire. And it's a series of questions that ask them everything as simple as what is your business name? What do you do? What are your who's your competition, where are your business goals for a year, 5, 10. It's really digging into the actual business. What's their mission statement, their core values? Is there something that they stand for? Are their product natural ingredients? Do they only do types of services? Really digging into their business to understand it and have them articulate it. As a business owner, you might know it because you live, breathe, and sleep it, but to put it on paper is very different. It really
Yeah.
makes you think about it. So we answer those questions, and that visually paints a picture for me. I'll also ask them, what are they drawn to? Do they like a certain set of colors? Do they like specific following that? Then I have them just dump into a Google Drive photos of maybe visuals that they like and a vibe that they like. Often people who aren't or just aren't good with words, which is fine. It's hard to explain an emotion that you get from something that you see. So if I can see visuals of something that someone likes, where this is how I want aesthetically company to look like, then I can be a visual detective and then design for them. But it really is laying that foundation, understanding all of the ins and outs of business first.
Wow, wow, amazing. Which simply means for someone like it's not going to be difficult being that I don't have any specific color I like. I mean, creative agency isn't just about running a creative isn't just about our creativity, it's also leadership. What was the hardest transitioning from designers to business owner for you?
Looking back, because business will be 7
Ouch.
that. Well, yes, 7. Uh, it is, I'm very, very grateful and very thankful and blessed for that. That one of the hard things was defining what I want the company to be. As a design agency, that could mean a lot of different things. Do we do websites? Do we do social media? Is it just branding, packaging? In the beginning, I would say yes to every project because I needed the clients.
Yeah.
But now really honing in on what am I good at? What's good at? What do I want us to be known for? What's our niche? I feel that having a niche is better than trying to do all things great. Knowing what we do really, really well and do it really well. And then for areas that's not in our wheelhouse, we have great partners and referral people that we can connect clients. But that was the hardest thing, is really defining over time, what do I want my company to stand for? I design experience, and I've kept it that way on purpose because I could make it large and have it be a very robust running agency where big team, we outsource things and we do websites and all that, like kind of like Vistaprint, where now they do websites and logos and mugs and stickers. But that's not what I wanted. Our clients come to design because they like the ability to text me, call me, can talk directly to their designer if there's another designer on their project. They like that human to human connection. And for better or worse, that's how the piece started because I wanted it that way, and that's how we're growing. And I think in a day full of technology, I think that there's something magical and nice about that they still want that human connection. So
Yeah,
that's
also
been the
true.
hardest part, is defining what my company, easy as that is.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's quite very demanding sometimes, especially from being I'm like now running a particular thing as a skill and not forming more like a business around it. It can be so demanding, being that now you're not just seeing yourself as more like in quotes the delivering job for your clients, but now you're seeing it as a business, very responsible for a whole lot of things and a whole lot of your team, so that you won't get to micromanage them and still it's burdensome. And just hearing from you, it's
It's a learning process, and I think the one of the and you could also take this just in life in general, to be open enough to ask questions and ask for
yeah.
help and under things that you and that's okay. Everybody started somewhere and everybody
Yeah.
has to take those first steps. And I've been very, very fortunate. I've had people come into my life, have had businesses for 25, 30 years where I can
Oh,
ask them questions and say, what am I doing wrong? I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know how to do this. And, I'd rather ask and pretend that I know it all because I
yeah.
do not. I definitely don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So how do you balance creativities with practical reality of managing clients, deadline, and finance?
Spinning plates. sometimes. I I have my and that's something that I've gotten better over time with is project management and how I used to in the very beginning have a notebook and I wrote everything down, which sounds very old. But I do love paper and I love pen and I like making lists. But now I do have, a way of managing things for which is very helpful.
Yeah.
But there's something over time innately can understand how to take and I just sift through them and understand, well, this needs to get done now, needs to get moved up. It's it's like being head chef in a kitchen, you have all these meals that need to get out on table at the same time, and you just innately, because it's what you do for a living, you just know, "I have to put this pot on at this time, I do this." It's a shuffling game. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I just know. And there's
Yeah.
times where a client will email or call and say, "Oh, we need this right away." And everything then so there is no day that's ever the same. I
Yeah.
can plan meetings and or to get certain projects done and we do our best, but at the end of the day, every day is different.
Yeah, so true. Amazing. So you have this brand that supports other podcaster and creators. What inspired you to focus on that niche? Yeah.
Oh, I that's a very good I do. In order to be fulfilled in life, like I said, um, I don't know if I just had another meeting before this and I was telling them, I think, or maybe I was telling you, the days blending, that I have to be creative, exist and breathe. And I'm being creative, but I also really love helping businesses to really that project that they thought that they could finish internally
Mm,
or release that packaging, being able to use my talents and team skills to help someone else meet their goal is ultimately love. I feel like I'm using the gifts that God gave me to help others. For example, she's been making soap for 40 years and she just really has always wanted a website. And she hired someone to do it. And unfortunately, they got too busy and they dropped the ball. And I did her daughter's website. So she came to me and said, "Can you help me?" And I was able to help her finish it. We got it live and running. And that to me, like, it may sound silly, but she's been making soap for 40 years. Like, yeah, you should have a website. It's not that
mm.
hard. We can get it done for you.
Yeah.
So it's those little things of, I know I don't do free or organ
Yeah.
placement or save babies or cats from burning buildings, but I am helping people. Really what I love.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So what this is, I think, is the fact that for 40 years, the soap woman does not have more like an presence that speak volume. You just helping them to actually bring them to live light. It's a whole lot compared to those years she has been struggling. She has actually reached out to designers who have let her down, and you just helping her to big relief to her to say, "Oh wow, I think now I got it." And it's
Uh,
really feeling being that you could actually more like lay a heavy hand.
just morally and ethic, just like anybody who is built that way, being someone even as
Yeah.
tiny as I was meeting with a woman today, explaining to her about something on LinkedIn, and she had never heard of that function. Like, yeah, I'll pay it forward. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep these secrets to myself.
Yeah.
All tides rise, all ships, and if we helped each other more, the world a better place.
Yeah, so true. The world will definitely be a better place if we would actually more like give out 2% every now and then. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, what role does our storytelling play in effective design, especially for entrepreneurs trying to stand out online?
I tell clients it's important to understand what makes you different than your competition. Every area, whether it's TV, radio, our phones, they're inundated with messaging um, for advertising. So understanding what makes you different can't sell to everyone. And the minute that you try to
Yeah,
sell to everybody, you're going to sell to no one. So
yeah,
speaking of soap, everyone should use soap. Doesn't mean that they're going to use
yeah,
and you need to understand target audiences and whether it's the fact that you have a family farm that's been around for a century, and you have all of the ingredients there, or, it's you're the person out of the soap and you love bright colors and whimsical things, honing in on that is part of the strategy. Very important to understand that and own it. If you love in
Yeah, yeah, so true. I think if you actually more like love your products and you love what you do, definitely point is going to speak volume, being that every time you show up, you want to show up the unique thing that make you stand out, the unique thing that motivated to started it out. Yeah, just love your product. I think, yeah,
yes, it's true.
yeah, so true. Yeah. So, what has entrepreneur taught you most about resilience and self belief?
I I'm now understanding where I'm at the business, and I think it's important to celebrate the big wins and as much as the little wins, right? Like if you have big wins, that's
Yeah,
great, but little wins are just as important. And know about something, you're always going to worry about something. Like
yeah,
there's never like people sitting in the know on that doesn't mean that there's not going to be stressful times ahead and realizing that's the case, but that you can get through it. Everything is solvable. So my new phrase this year is that's a solvable problem. And I've been using it so much that now people are saying it back to me when something happens. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's caught up. Because at the end of the day,
yeah,
everything is solvable. It's just figuring it out. And it's getting to that understanding, okay, take a deep breath. Not everything is going to be catastrophic
yeah,
or something to freak out how you handle it and taking it steps. Don't eat the entire elephant at once or the horse, cow, whatever. Take it in small bites. You know, if you
yeah.
eat the animal and it's better than trying to do the whole thing.
Yeah, amazing. So, almost give up, and how did that push you through?
I was gonna give up, or that I wasn't sure it, especially from, financial point. I
Yeah.
think businesses go through that. How are you gonna pay the bills? How are the invoices? But you feel you you cry, eat a beer or run, whatever your thing is, all of those things. And then you go to sleep up in the morning and you hit it hard. You just you keep trying. There's I once had in the beginning when I started Design Pod, I had a kind of a partner at the time, and he had made a comment to me of, well, just maybe you have to accept that failure is an option. And I was like, no, no, it's not. And if you have that in your head that failure is not an option, you keep trying. There is an endless amount of options to solve a problem. It's just finding that right one. Um, and things will all back at your life and think about all the times that you worried about a situation not working. Did it ever not work out? Like you're still, so often we create problems to be bigger than what they really are. So I think that that learning curve for me of don't about things that
Mm, wow. Wow. The way you just make it so don't worry about things that haven't happened yet. And I just remember the parachute maker reference. So I'm like, yeah, don't worry yet. The parachute is coming to save you.
yes, it's it's saying I have that one nailed because
Yeah,
I don't. I'm actively in that phase of my life where I just breathe and I'm like, okay, I can worry about this now. Or I can and know that there needs to be time to solve problems. Like I can be very impatient because I want answers now and I want to solve things,
yeah.
but that's literally just not how life works. And you have to be patient.
Yeah, this is really, I think that's the reason why some most times I love podcasting being that just listening to stories and I'm like, because I'm just imagining if I'm at any crossroad now and I have these difficulties of this particular problem that's, I don't know what to expect. I don't even know whether there's going to be any triggering results. For me, it's going to be a bit easier now being that I have more like a meta model, being that I can just say, wow, how did Jessica was able to put that through? What would she have done differently if she was in this situation? So like every story is more like a meta model, really actually more like help a whole lot that when that point comes, oh, Jessica did it. Yeah, I can do it too.
Yes, yeah, you can. Yeah, and I love that. Thank you for saying that. Because I like being really honest. I- Often stories are positivity, but there have been times where I've been,
Yeah,
I wake up in the morning and I cry in the shower. But we all have those days.
yeah,
And it's how of us takes hard hits, it's how
yeah,
we handle them and how we bounce back. That's the
yeah,
difference. And I think also, having a support system, whether it be friends, family, business mentors. I have another that I honestly thought about maybe folding up a couple months ago. And I said that to my parents, and they're my biggest support now. They both yelled, "Are you kidding me? You're not giving up. You're not allowed to quit. You've come too far." And they just like
Mm,
built me up. You know what I mean? So, and I needed, and I was okay, nope, I needed to hear that. Thank you very much. And on the flip side, I've also had times in business where I was going to make a decision and a
yeah,
friend or a business mentor was like, "I don't think that's the right call. Have you thought about XYZ?" And so you need that friends and family and business mentors
yeah,
are always going to tell you something that you have to listen to, but having those different perspectives and positive support, you need that village,
yeah,
you need
yeah,
that community to build you up and to have that sounding board because
yeah.
if I could do it all on my own, I would, but I'm not. None of us
Yeah,
can.
so true, so true. I think there's this particular script or verse that actually most of it that in the multitude of there is safety. Being that different perspective that's at particular points where you don't know what to expect, having more like different needs. Yeah, yeah, there is being that you can actually more like see different perspective and how to actually manage it. So what
Yeah.
advice you give to someone who is thinking about leaving their job to start their own creative and service-based business?
So, and the I you have to be good at it and like what you do. You start a
Mm,
business just because you really like it. You also have to be good at it. If you want to and you want to quit your job and be a singer, terrible at singing, don't do it. You have to be at
yeah,
what you want to start. And sometimes what we're good at might not be what we love. So I think really to be just very fortunate that I obsessively love what and I'm good at it. There are some people that maybe they want to do certain things in life or be a painter, a sculptor, or a
yeah,
dancer, but maybe that's just not in the cards. And be honest with yourself because at the end of the day, being a business owner
yeah.
is about making money. I can't pay my bills with Google reviews that are positive. That's really
Yeah,
great, but it's not gonna cut it. So is the business idea valid and is gonna have legs and can it grow? And make a plan. A lot of factors that go into it. If you have a family, is your spouse, are you financially gonna be able to
yeah,
handle it? I would not recommend jump. There is a point of planning kind of financially, can we handle this? We don't wanna live in a cardboard box, all of those things. So I would, those things would be mine.
so true,
And
so
and
true.
and buck roller coaster of a ride.
Really?
The entire world down. None of us saw that coming. There are things about my business, I have another company where, I launched a plush toy line, and I was with one manufacturer, literally got the prototype, and finally, after months and months and months, to then find out that factory no longer had the partnership with the company I was working with. So I had to find a whole new company, whole new manufacturer, new design process,
Oh,
and that set me back. So, but yeah, I didn't plan that. That wasn't in my plans in here, but you roll with it.
yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. Thanks for that. And also, when it comes to more like making plans in respect of business, I just remember a particular book on by forgotten the name of this person, but the name of the book is The Deep, which really about ideas are how will I make sense of it. A whole lot of things are coming into being when it comes to creating the business, and times such AI is taking about a whole lot of things. So at the end of the day, it's more like sitting with your business plan, knowing what is obtainable, and also need to quit. Because sometimes some ideas might not. It's weighing the both of them and knowing when to know that this is not going to kind of long way.
Very, very, and I would be willing to bet we're to take the most successful people in the world, um, and they in their histories and decision making, I'm sure there were businesses that they pulled the plug on or
Yeah,
pivoted on.
yeah,
It is going back to that very humble place of, okay, I made some bad decisions. This was the best route. How do we fix this? That's where the
yeah,
strength comes in.
yeah,
Is how do we make this? If it's not this, what do we make work, and what does it look like?
yeah. Amazing. So When you look, what kind of legacy do you hope your work and your brand will leave, both in business and Jessica?
Hope when people hear or look back on my legacy at some point, that they think of me as someone who was, yes, creative and very talented, but also someone who morally and ethically always wanted to do the right thing or try to do the right thing. That I really am in this to help people, that my talents aren't in math or science or athletics. I'm not on a basketball team or volleyball or a swimmer. I do like to swim, but that I do what I do to help other people reach their goals, and that I ran my company um, morally and ethically that way. That it wasn't about being a millionaire or a billionaire, that it was about working with others and accomplishing goals together, as cheesy as that sounds.
Wow, a complete goes together. Yeah. Um, I mean that. Yeah, Jessica,
Yeah.
how can my audience connect with you? How can they do business with you? And where is the best platform to do this?
Yes, designpod.studio. And I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, both under Jessica Adanich and Design Pod Studio.
Wow, wow, amazing. Yeah, Jessica, this has been such an inspiring conversation. Your journey from background to creating your own studio and using design as a force for both business and impact is something that every creative entrepreneurs can learn from. For listeners, if you want to connect with to learn more about our visit our designspot.studio. That is spot the studio to explore her agency resources and creative portfolio. Yeah, Jessica, thank you for on the Aro Benaiah Show. It's really a pleasure having you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for having me. Great question. So thank you